Uma universidade conectada com o seu tempo, com a ciência e com a formação humana. A Universidade de Caxias do Sul é uma universidade comunitária que tem como missão produzir, sistematizar e socializar o conhecimento com qualidade e relevância para o desenvolvimento sustentável. Conectada com você, sua vida e seus sonhos. Cerca de 100.000 pessoas levam no seu currículo o nome da Universidade de Caxias do Sul. Mas o legado de uma universidade não pode ser só medido pelo número de pessoas que ela formou, mas também pelos conceitos e ideias que ela ajudou a revolucionar, pelas empresas que ajudou a implantar e até mesmo pelos sonhos que ela ajudou a concretizar. A marca da UX ultrapassou as barreiras do tempo e os limites do espaço. Ela está impressa em milhares de histórias e conquistas e segue sua trajetória de sucesso, preparando pessoas com capacidade para transformar o mundo, criar o novo e antecipar o futuro. Universidade de Caxias do Sul.
Good evening to everyone. Greetings for the University of Caxias do Sul. It's our great pleasure to welcome you all to this special night celebrating the beginning of the 2023 scholar year. Faculty members and students from the University of Caxias do Sul are connected tonight to listen and to talk about information technology, tools, algorithms, systems, languages, standards, hardware, methods. Well, they are not only words for us. Information technology area has many challenges, complexities, hard work. Above all, here at the University of Caxias do Sul, we respect and appreciate people's knowledge and experience. We are celebrating this year the 38th anniversary of our computer science course. Congratulations to all related to it. We have also former students connected, some from other countries, from 4 continents, and executives representing companies, since our university has a very close relationship with local industries and business. We thank you all for your interest and participation. And talking about people, I invite Dr. André Dami, Director of Engineering School, to the official welcome.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the School of Exact Science and Engineering at the University of Caxias do Sul, I would like to express our gratitude to Mrs. Carolyn Caton for taking some time out of her busy schedule to share her knowledge and expertise with us. I would like to thank also our academic community for attending this talk. I'm confident that it will be both informative and engaging, providing us with valuable insights into information technology. I also want to congratulate the Computer Science Department for its anniversary. Thank you again, Mrs. Caroline, for sharing your time with us today, and we are excited to hear your presentation. Thank you, Karen.
Tonight, we have the privilege of hosting an important speaker from United States, representing a successful professional from the information technology area. Please welcome Carolyn Caton, Senior Director of Productivity and Collaboration at Johnson & Johnson from New Jersey. To introduce Carolyn, she has a business and communication degree from the University of Miami and a communication degree from the University of Colorado, Boulder. She has many accomplishments in her career, and I will mention here some of them related to collaboration and productivity in the industry, which means deep knowledge on how to provide essential services to any company, including emails, real-time messaging, personal storage, and all kinds of collaboration technologies into the cloud. Also, I highlight her innovative drive, master on support automation, and solid software development and project management expertise. Carolyn, we want to thank you for being here to share your expertise and insights with us. We hope that everyone will have a pleasant moment, and please send your questions and thoughts through YouTube.
Great, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure for me to be here to talk to you today or this evening. I really enjoy the concept, how we get our students and the people that are interested in technology, and especially with Johnson & Johnson Health, and how we bring the health together with that technology to deliver services that are meaningful to our communities, our countries, our people, the mothers and fathers that really take in all of our services and need us to resolve problems for them. So I'll start with a simple presentation. We can talk about anything that is of interest to you, but I want to start out with what is Johnson & Johnson to me, and why is it such a special place to work? And it really comes down to purpose. Johnson & Johnson as a organization lives by a mantra of everything is based off of what we call our credo. This is a representation here. This is a statement that we have lived with for 135 years that tells us what it is that drives the users of Johnson & Johnson and how we should meet any challenges or how we should talk with any kind of service or purpose in mind. So I think the first thing is to walk through that presentation, or what the credo is. It says, what are the foundations for J&J? And if you'll notice the first paragraph, we talk about everything in our paragraphs, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. And a lot of companies today and organizations are owned by their stockholders. And J&J is no different. We're owned by stockholders. But what's important to us is our first responsibility is to the patients, to the doctors and nurses. The people that use our products are key and fundamental to the success of this organization. As such, we always put them first in mind. We also then have responsibility to the people that deliver those services and our employees, the people that we work with day to day. How do we keep the people safe, the information safe, the products safe, our environments, what they should be? And how do we give the most equal opportunity to all users, regardless of any kind of country, religion, disability, any kind of difference is embraced by Johnson & Johnson, and we are really looking to give that equal opportunity for all users in the most ethical manner. The third thing that we really focus on is our communities and how are we affecting those communities. We have outreaches, we do all manner of work and volunteerism to try to educate people, provide the information that we have, and try to extend out to other places. And this is a prime example. How can we reach out and help others understand not just what we do, but why we do it? And then at the end of all of those responsibilities, we finally will consider the stockholder. The stockholder is important, obviously, as an investment and a foundation for J&J, but it's really more important about what we create and what we deliver. So when you work for a company like Johnson & Johnson, this didn't come out right. This really is important to show that we're a company of people first. We're a company that delivers to people, from people, with people. And on this slide, really what it talks about is we have 135 years under the J&J company. We're the #1 healthcare organization in the world. We're ranked second in how we're extending and collaborating into the world to extend global healthcare. We are also ranked 36th in the top 50 by Forbes. We really are one of the top premier organizations in the world. And we do that by delivering to 140,000 employees in over 57 countries. J&J is comprised of 4 different sectors. And what's interesting about Johnson & Johnson is they have a belief in the company is delivering services within these sectors, and we let the business find the solutions and the services needed based on their area of expertise. Pharmaceutical is one of our largest. We then have our med tech device group, and it's interesting because it used to be called medical devices, and now we've changed it to med tech because technology is in everything that we do. We have our consumer division that we're actually working through. The consumer division is going to be renamed Kenvue, and that is for all of our over-the-counter, as well as products that you might know, Band-Aids, Listerine, Neutrogena, some of those other topics. And then underlying all of that is our corporate shared services that really drives the business. And that's really where we sit in the technology group, as well as we have extensions into the business subunits because they're close to the product. So we really have a very highly matrixed organization, and it comprises over 250,000 users when you look at our partners, our vendors, and all of the people that work within J&J. That's Johnson & Johnson. You want to know about technology, and you want to know about maybe me a little bit. I've worked for J&J off and on over 10 years. I've been with J&J most recently supporting their productivity and collaboration. What does that mean? Everyone says, what is end user services? End user services is supporting over 260,000 users across the globe. I have over 56 several separate projects and products that we support. We manage over 3.5 billion minutes of conferencing per year. So this technology that we're using today is very akin to the things that we use. You might have heard about Teams and Zoom and all manner of technologies in the industry. We have a very large group of users that live and breathe their world on the computer. So something that is important because that's what we support and that's what we service for those users. We connect people. We connect them with information, each other. We connect them both with verbal, with visual, and we really are connecting people to make a difference in their day-to-day lives. Our goal is about the end user experience and delivering things that make everything that they have to do for their purpose easier. So how am I making your life easier? What's that user experience? How can I communicate with you in a better way? How can I train people to use tools better? What kind of automations can we develop and create or offer in tool sets that people can then create from even their own points of view? So our end users, in our end user group, we're a very agile workforce and an agile group. You might have heard about Agile Framework. We are always doing sprints, just in time delivery. We're looking to develop solutions that meet the minimum viable product and then iterate on things and change things as we see the business change. We are delivering, yes, desktop applications. You might be using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or Office on your desktops, but we're also extending that up into the cloud and utilizing the cloud to extend our reach into areas that might not have had the same level of communication or connection. Pre the pandemic, you would have seen people doing conferencing every day, but not to the same extent. We had people sitting in large office buildings and doing a lot of work. The pandemic really showed the agility of technology and how we could meet a challenge of taking our technology and moving people away from each other, but still keeping them connected. So what's interesting about my background and things that might make me a little bit different than the average, second generation technologist. I grew up with a very thought process in mind of technology as a focus. And I began with the infrastructure. So many times today, people are talking about programming or they're in the cloud and it's really about scripting. When you've grown up from the bottom up and you've been wiring and networking and delivering hardware services and really building the technology or the network that all of these now cloud-based technologies are delivered on, you really have an understanding of how your purpose delivers to the end user. And then you have to take that purpose into how you're going to make the business work better. So as you can see, I don't have to read a slide to any of you. I can answer questions on any of these things in the future. But you can see I have a very eclectic and diverse background that starts with not just what's in the cloud, but how it's connected to the cloud, how it connects to people, and how we take those ideas and thoughts, digitize them, and put them into action. So I really want to get into more of what the topics are that people wanted to ask in terms of what are some of the questions people had. So one of the things is about large companies. Does size matter? As a student, I really would think about what's important to me. What are the things that make me or you as the student interested in technology? And where does that fit within this elaborate world we have of small, medium, mid-size to large to extremely large enterprises? You have to really understand what happens in these organizations and whether or not that's something that you can manage and whether or not it's something you're driving for. And at different points in your career and in your education, you will find it will change. What's important to you now is going to be different to what's important to you later. So you got to constantly ask yourself these questions. In my experience, large companies, great diversity. You have opportunities because there's so much happening everywhere. You tend to have funding so you can build things. When we talk about scope and you talk about J&J and someone says to me, hey, I want to build this for 500 people, you have a different perspective on 500 people than if someone comes to me and says, I need this for 30,000 people. You get to go through all of those areas in your career when you're in a very large organization. You create a dramatic impact when you create something that can scale to that area. You can focus on one technology, and you could focus on that for a very long period of time if that's what drives you. And very large companies have better benefits typically. They're taking care of things at a much grander scale. But all the benefits have the contra action to them, which is, yes, you can focus, but then do you get siloed? And if you're a person in technology that wants to be able to program and also want to be able to do business actions, and then you want to have an impact into the finance, and then you want to, at different layers of your career, you might find yourself only being able to focus on one thing and you want to learn more. You're farther away from the customer in technology at times. So you have to keep reminding yourself of what's your purpose. We're solving cancer, bone cancer in areas. How am I that is helping the end user, the workers, get to that resolution? I eliminate noise. I eliminate difficulties for them to do their work, right? But I'm not really at that front line with the person that's getting cured. I'm not seeing that person. So I think if you have a general belief that you want to be in the business and be close to that customer, you should ask yourself some of those questions. Large companies have lots of processes. We're in healthcare. We have legal requirements. We have FDA, federal requirements. We have so many different processes for you to do everything that sometimes that it can be a burden. Everything that you try to develop in your life, in your technology, you have to be thinking about, how can I make this as streamlined as possible for the end user, meet the same security, legal, and requirements that are necessary for my business, and extrapolate that from the user experience so that people can continue to iterate and design and create and solve problems as fast as possible. Sometimes those processes and layers can get in the way. They also can introduce more complexities. So large companies, amazing. But at what point in your career are you ready for that? And at what point do you want to dive in? And where does it fit in your life? A smaller company, you have this huge breadth of responsibility because everything is your responsibility. Okay, so that's another thing you have to shift on. Am I ready to take all of that responsibility? You have a close connection with the customers. You have a close connection with leadership. You're not a span or 5 layers down from the executive. So you might be able to make some inroads and change. So that gives you sometimes more control. It gives you more visibility. Your impact is immediate. But on the same side is you don't have as large of a negotiation power. You might not have what we call bench strength. In my organization, if I don't know something, I can find somebody in the organization that knows something. And I have a great deal of opportunity to talk to a lot of other people. If you're a person that likes to keep learning things and keep expanding that knowledge, that might be an okay thing for you. But for in some places when you're stuck, it's really necessary for you to be thinking, how can I find help? It's harder sometimes in a smaller company. Funding can be harder. Benefits could be more difficult. You might have more flexibility in a smaller company to jump between different roles, but at the same time, is that what you want to do and be flexible with? So that was just one topic as an example of things that we can talk about in how we look at where we want to be as a technologist. And so when you think about some of the other areas, and I was given a list of things that we could talk about, I think it's important to know resources and HR and what does that look like in a global organization, especially as you're venturing forward into your technology job environment. So we're always looking for great resources. We're always looking for strong technologists, but what does that mean? It really depends on what we need in the organization, and it also depends on different timing, programs, projects. Foundationally, we're looking for people that are driven, people that want that purpose in their life, people that will speak with integrity and develop things and walk outside of themselves to think about how they can make the technology that they know solve problems. We solve problems every single day at J&J, whether it's cancer or if it's a visual impairment, or we have knee surgeries and hip surgeries, and we're creating devices that do all the endoscopic tools that help surgery. How are we digitizing that? How are we making things easier for our doctors and our nurses? And so when you say, what are the challenges? People with the right experience sometimes. And then you ask yourself, how do I get that experience? How do I get to the place where I have those 2 years of experience so I can even apply for some of the jobs? J&J has a great summer internship program. You can apply for all of the different internships that we have. We have them global. We have what we call co-op opportunities where you can go to school and work at the same time to get experience. We have a program for leadership development where we actually take university students when they've graduated. They enter into this program and they go for 2 years. They work with J&J and cycle through 3 different areas in the business, and they get experience within the business and then can graduate into a full-time position within J&J, or obviously they can take positions elsewhere. It's really an opportunity to see what you can do to manifest change and deliver technology in the organization. You know, when you talk about hiring people in a global mindset, we're looking for people in Asia. It's difficult to find people in Japan that speak English, Japanese successfully, and then have a deep technical knowledge. When I went into Japan and I was looking for someone to help us with our exchange, which is the email rollout, we were deploying and migrating 210,000 mailboxes from physical hardware into the cloud environment with our program. And there are so many technical nuances to how these email systems actually flow and route. Everyone says, oh, it's email. It's not. There are license implications. There is whether or not you have a service that you want so many restrictions for inbound for any kind of spam filtering, whether or not you have a shared mailbox that has group access and accountability for understanding who's in control of that mailbox and where it shifts all of the data, and then introduce language differentiation, introduce cultural differentiation. Think about why someone reacts differently to the same message. A good example about a global rollout that really impacts technology is change management. And what does that mean? Change management. It's how are we getting the community to change and adopt our technology through communications, tools. We've created automations for people to have interactions with bots and Q&As so that we are manifesting answers for them to get them to go where we need them to go. And we found that people weren't opening up emails because in your header, it was in English. And if you're in Japan, you don't open it. So learning about the global nature of a company and how you try to even get your technology out to users is something that you have to be thinking about. And we think about that every day. There's a cultural difference in Australia adopting technology than North America technology people. I went to Australia to deploy a new voice over IP solution. And every person in the office got new headsets. They put them on. They were excited. It was great. They were involved. They were engaged. They loved it. And it didn't matter age, race, anything. Just everybody was involved. Everybody was excited. You come to North America, and all I hear is, oh, this is on my head. It's on both ears, and it messes my hair up. And people see different things, different places, different ways. And so when you're going into a global world and you're trying to hire people in those environments, and you're trying to find people that fit not just your technology, but also understand the cultural mindsets of those users and then how to adapt to them, it's difficult. So my advice would be adaptable. Listen, take things in, find solutions, and then move forward with them. So it takes us right down to what are some of the challenges in IT today. Finding skilled workers is always difficult. Finding skilled workers that want to grow with a company, that want to be a part of something, and you can afford. There's always the challenge in today's world of budgets and fiscal responsibility, and there's more work than we have the ability to hire and adopt and fund. And so being a valued employee is a key thing for us, being a top performer, and yet J&J wants balance. We want you to have your life, your family comes first. And J&J is key on understanding how do we deliver the people message while still maintaining the business requirements that we have to grow. And that's always one of the challenges, is meeting demand in our day-to-day life, prioritizing it. Prioritizing your day, prioritizing your deliverable. What is the most important thing for you to deliver at any given time? And being flexible in what you do. We have a lot of IT challenges just in the nature of the world today. Data is not free. At least good data isn't. So if you have good data, you need to protect it, which requires us to go through a lot of security requirements, legal requirements. What's the right thing to do? How do we have access to data while still protecting data? How are we doing encryption? You guys will be learning about all the different protocols for encryption. You have whether or not you're talking about firewalls, whether or not you're talking about third-party access, whether it's a guest access, whether it's a user that is an employee or a partner. There's different levels within your environment that you have to segment. And it makes it difficult sometimes for users to walk through all of these layers of security, but they're key to the success of the business and to the safety of your customers. So you have to be thinking about all of those things when you develop any kind of tool, any kind of service that has data behind it. So how are you protecting the data? How are you protecting your code? How are you making sure that someone doesn't go in and use a kernel to create a backdoor or some kind of leakage within your environment? Clean code is really important to us. Too much chattiness in a code could override a network. The network doesn't work, video doesn't work, communications stop working. All of the back-end systems have to be able to continue to work every time you iterate or build things. We're also dealing with the fact that we're technologists and we love everything to have order and reason and a plan. And we love everything in a nice, neat little graph. And we love to create reports. And at the end of the day, people that are not technologists don't think like you. And if they're not thinking like you and you're trying to build something for them, you have to shift your mindset. Because if you just keep building what you think is great without them in mind, they won't use your service. They won't use your tool. And I call people are water. They'll find a way to get around all of your processes. They'll find a way to put their data where it shouldn't go. They'll find a way. The same as the water will find a way to ruin the foundation of your house if you have a leak somewhere. People are just trying to do their jobs, but we as technologists have to understand that and try to find a way to meet them at that junction point so that we don't have them trying to go around us, that we make them partners to us. So challenges are external challenges. You guys hear all the time how you're being attacked from an outside source or someone is trying to take away your information. That's all true. So build that in mind and be thinking ahead. And don't be so heads down that you can't see where you're going. Big picture orientation. Even if you're down in the code, if you can't see how that code is going to manifest into a solution, do you know if you're even building something that's worthwhile? So it's really important. I'm not quite sure about weaknesses. I think when we talk about what makes us strong, what makes us weak as organizations or as technologists, it's really we have to stop ourselves from just doing what we always do. And companies sometimes get into ruts of just delivering on the thing that worked before. You'll go into an organization and someone will say to you, because you're going to have great ideas. It's going to be new. It's going to be exciting. What if we did this? And you're going to hear, oh, we tried that. That doesn't work. We're not allowed to do that here. Don't accept that. Never accept it. Because that could have been 5 years ago. And you as a technologist know that everything changes sometimes 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. So what didn't work before might be perfect right now. So don't lose your voice and make sure that the weakness of falling into our processes or living into what we've done in the past, we have to constantly look up and think about where we want to go in the future. So there are too many times where we don't have enough information to make decisions. And people say, do you just make a decision? Making no decision sometimes is worse than just making the wrong decision and making it right. I find that data is your friend and data drives a great deal, but data can be just numbers. And if you're not willing to understand the data and analyze it, then you're not going to be able to build good solutions. So the weakness of IT is sometimes we are myopic and we just look at our own problems. And you need to have friends, and friends open your visuals. And by opening your visuals, you can see how you can build even bigger things. And technology is about connecting it all together. So in terms of these kind of topics, I think it's really important to talk about what kind of skills I look for in a technologist, and they're going to be different than what you think. And so I want you to understand that being at a university is key to having a diverse mindset. I look for people that have all the technical skills that you're going after, absolutely. But I also want people that can communicate. I want people that are flexible. I want someone that's driven and that has some core foundational attributes to who they are and their personality. And I think that it's important to understand that you're building a community within your own organization because we spend so much time together. We have to trust each other. We have to be able to understand each other's drivers and what's going to be important from one day to the next. If I hire somebody that is highly motivated by delivering code or delivering a tech, and I put them in some operational role where they're just like fixing things, I'm not feeding their nature. I'm not feeding their need to create. And so it's important when you go into a role that you really are looking for what drives you. And as a good leader, I need to understand if all you care about to motivate you is money is different than what I do for you versus someone that cares about connection and being involved, or someone that loves to fix things. That's my operational person. So skills are take the personality that you know you are and then see how that fits into different roles, because you're going to find success in those things. And then don't limit yourself, because that could be, do you have really good communication skills? You have to be able to get your message across. I look at each one of my people and I say, are they ready to present to a higher audience? So I let them present to their peers first. Then I let them present to their leaders next. Then I let them present to my peers. Then I let them present to my leadership. And those levels of presentation skills tell me, can you sell your topic? Can you back it up? Can you make a service? Can you define for others what it is that's important so that you get the funding, so you get the resources, so you get the okay for your time to be spent on that next project? You have to be able to sell your product, your service, and who you are in order for you to keep expanding and growing. So even though we're technologists and we're hands on keyboards and we're looking at code and we're building services and solutions, we still have to be able to bridge the gap between the people and the technology to keep going forward in our world. So communication is huge for what we do. Obviously, you're going to learn all of the skills for your technology at university, and then you need to apply them to real life. And real life is never going to be easy. Things just come up. Microsoft got hit by lightning and their DNS server got scrambled and the cloud went down. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? There was a virus detected out in the world and it put a risk to you, and you have to now update software versions on 100,000 devices. What are you going to do? Think about impact. Think about how you can roll that out without crushing your entire organization and bringing the network to its feet. I can tell you the security people are like, throw the patch out there, fix it. Let's test it. Let's make sure the patch works. Let's not introduce problems in the environment so computers go down. Let's roll it out into a smaller group. Let's see if it works. You know, I'm not saying you were breached. I'm saying that you're doing proactive maintenance to things. You have to be able to take and understand the risk and the priority, and you have to be able to problem solve. So I'm looking for people and the skills of people that are going to be able to do those things on top of their technology. I deal a lot with Microsoft, so PowerShell is important to me. It's not as important to everybody else. Python is important to me. I want to be able to have people code into the cloud, so I'm looking for Python and automation. I have citizens developers, so I have to develop things that other people don't know code from, so I have to think about that. So there's so many things that you have the opportunity to learn as much as you can. And that takes me to Carolinisms. I hate to say that, but everybody tells me I use them all the time. I'm very much about my people, and I'm very in tune to what motivates them, what makes them happy, what are the things they're interested in, where do they want to be in life, and how do I get them there? I will tell you, believe in yourself, right? Confidence is contagious. If you believe in yourself and you speak from a place of authority where you speak with that confidence, people are going to listen. Think about how you speak, especially as technologists. Too many times you will see technologists that cannot make a presentation, cannot make eye contact, and they have difficulty explaining their ideas without going into the deep technology. The people that hold the money don't understand you. They don't understand us. So you have to speak at a different level. And you have to be thinking about that if you're going to try to express yourself to move forward in technology. People are not going to agree with you. People are going to argue with you. People are going to say, that's not worthwhile. Always listen, treat others with respect, watch how others treat people, because that's where you have an opportunity to change things. So if you see something going on over here that's not good for the people or not good for your technology, make sure that you're always respectful in your responses. Don't get into arguments. I had a CTO tell me, if you're going to wrestle with a pig, you're both going to get dirty. I hated that expression. But it speaks to don't get into situations where you're putting yourself down at that level. Always rise above in any situation. We have to always remember to do better. You're starting out at the bottom. You're coming in. This is new to all of you. Look at the leaders above and how they treat people. Where do you want to be? What's your map to get there? Authentic, balanced empathy. What do I mean by balanced empathy? It means I care about my people, but I have to care about the business as well. So I have to make sure that those are both meeting their goals and the requirements with heart. Be a trustworthy person. I tell people, if you want to know the truth, I'm the person to talk to. If you're just looking for someone to tell you yes, probably not the right place to be. I'm going to challenge respectfully, but I'm going to challenge for what I believe in because I want to do the right thing. People will come to those kinds of people. People don't leave jobs. You have a job, you're getting paid, you're doing the job. They leave people that do not treat them well. They leave bad leaders. They leave bad environments. So be the good. Always be the more positive. Always think of how you can make things better. As technologists, we get really focused on things, but we have to look outside of ourselves and never stop listening. You have to hear other people's perspectives to design and build the right technology for them. Keep learning. Technology is constantly changing. And when I say keep doing, analysis paralysis. Sometimes everyone's data, but they're not actually looking in the data to make a decision. You have to be a doer. You have to get things done. You have to deliver. You can't just always be talking about things. And it's important as technologists that we are providing the support and the tools necessary to solve these problems. I want to be the person that helps them solve those problems. During the pandemic, before the pandemic, 80% of our users were in the office and 20% were remote. In order to protect the scientists that needed to be in the office, we had to switch and flip that, where 80% of the people went home, so the 20% that had to be in the office were in a isolated environment and safe. We did that with technology. We moved all of those people. We kept their computers running, their data flowing, their conversations, and their video real and real time. And we did that to manifest a solve for a major problem. And it was technology that made it happen. So just keep doing and delivering. I laugh about, I tell my team, if I'm the smartest person in the room, we're in trouble. And I think I'm pretty dang smart. But the point is, I want to surround myself with brilliance. So when you're standing around, you want people to be smarter than you because you want to be learning what they know. So keep striving to be around those smart people. And at the end of the day, I always say, get out of the box. Whenever you get a present and it comes in a box, what do? You take the important thing out of the box and you throw the box away. The box is trash. Don't be in the box when it gets thrown out. You want to be out. You want to be thinking and solving. Advocate for your ideas. Really drive that you are different. That's important. And And when you have problems or you're going to find something that you don't know the answers to, come forward and say, listen, I see this problem. And I think we could do this and this, but I'm not sure. But at least you gave me an option. Don't just be hey, we have got a problem. Oh, this blew up. Okay, what are we doing about it? What do you think? You're an expert for a reason. So have solutions and really be thinking about, how do you want others people to perceive you? Who are you at the core? And if you're a technologist at the core, then you want to solve the problems and you want to make new things happen and you want to create. So do it. Just keep creating. So at the end of the day, I'm leaving you guys with some information, some examples of J&J in action. I will give this so people can click on these. These are actually links that'll tell you about how we at J&J are solving eye impairments, not just with contact lenses, but actually technology within the lens to actually give you information about what's happening in the eye. It's amazing. We are developing new drugs and new delivery systems to actually solve mental health across the globe. We have some great things about bone cancer that we're solving. We're working through issues at J&J to talk about IBS and things that really are impactful to people's lives. And it's pretty exciting. Obviously, prostate cancer, people are losing family members, and J&J is really searching to solve those issues. And I'll leave you with some resources. You have us on the YouTube channel here, but J&J has a YouTube channel. Go to the J&J website, learn about our women's STEM efforts, learn about how we are really expanding access to medicine to the world, and how we think that giving medicines to third world countries to make them healthier and really a global mindset is important to Johnson & Johnson. And thank you very much for your time. I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Thanks so much for your talk, Caroline. What a fantastic person you are. And thank you so much for sharing all your beliefs and all your experience. Was great to hear you, to listen to you, and to learn from you. And we can feel your energy and you are a motivated person. That's why you keep on this professional career so successful. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, we have some questions from the audience. And please, I invite everyone who has some questions in Portuguese and who is curious about opportunities. You talk about opportunities, and I took many notes, and especially about people are like water. I found it fantastic, and I agree. And so now let me see the questions. So we have one question here from Renato. I will read, okay? He says, you brought us a very human perspective of the business. Oh, it's there. On the other side, technological tools are more often than not focused on automation. Thus, how J&J balances technology and human development?
So I can speak from my technology side, not necessarily all of the human development pieces, but a good example of automation is it's kind of crazy. So we have licensing for 250,000 users. And in our day-to-day, we can literally in 6 months hire and have people leave J&J to the tune of, I don't know, like 25,000 users, which is kind of like an entire company for other people. So what happens is we are constantly looking at fluctuations, and we use automation to look at utilization of a service. We look at how to pull licenses back, reuse licenses, deliver in-time technologies. So we focus on how we automate our back-end systems so that we don't increase our cost. Because if we increase our cost, then there's less money to hire people. And if we increase our costs, there's how does the automation help? We also have Q&A chatbots. So if you have a question and you need support, you can type in a question, and we use automation to meet the needs of the user to answer those questions. We also have a tool that when we see things happening on a system, say your PC is running at high CPU, so your RAM is maxed out, and we start seeing some error codes that start hitting within your PC before you even have a problem, so blue screens of death and all of those things. We actually can push updates to drivers. We can push updates to software to you to fix problems before they're even happening. And that's all being done through automation. You see a problem, you find a solution, and then how do you put it together to affect everyone's day when they don't know it? We call it, we're the utilities. You just want to flip the light switch on, and it should go on, and you turn the faucet on, and the water should be there. That's where we would like to be, in terms of people don't know that we're in the background fixing their things before they even know they have an issue. So maybe, I hope that answers that. But we also are doing an initiative for automation where literally it's every business process. Can we find a way to automate it so that we can do more work, right? What does that mean? We have so much work to get done. There's so much opportunity of things to get done. There's just not enough of us. So we automate things that people were doing in the past with their hands. So you get an email, and the email, you can search the email for an action, and that action can deliver a result. So we do Power Apps, and we can automate a flow. So every time you get emails from your boss, it stays at the top of your box so you don't miss it. So you don't have to search through it. We save time. So it's all about how do we create productivity.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. We have a few questions here about ChatGPT and how it's impacting J&J so far, and what's your perception on it? Are you in the company, is already working on it, thinking about it? There are a few questions about from some people here about this topic.
So think about ChatGPT is what is available publicly that ChatGPT can learn and then produce back to you in a consolidated or focused manner. So that's great. But ChatGPT is not going to have access to proprietary and internal data to be able to manifest answers to the collection of that information, right? And there's a reason for that. I talked about that earlier. It's security and that layer of control. It doesn't mean that ChatGPT can't be great. I think it's amazing. And I think we as technologists could all say, we could solve so many world problems. People, there's always going to be that one person that's going to ruin it for all of us, trying to make it do something it shouldn't do, or harm somebody else, or have a shortcut in life. Because of that kind of thinking, we have to be very controlled and concerned about how we provide answers through ChatGPT, because they're not always right. It will get better, but are we looking at it? Absolutely. I had a colleague put in a public, we can only do public stuff. So if it's public information, he was writing a communication, and he literally went into ChatGPT. He says, can you take this information and make it more empathetic to the end users to help them to adopt this technology? that's exciting, right? Because it takes a different mindset. As long as it's not proprietary and it's not controlled data. I think when you look at Microsoft, they're looking to expand ChatGPT into their Teams product in a special license, right? So now you have to pay more money for it, as always, right? Another few dollars here, a few dollars there, millions of people, millions of dollars. So they want to introduce it. As an organization, the first thing I do is like, can I control who has access? Can I control where that data goes? Can I allow it to, I can't let it infiltrate my back-end systems, right? So yes, I absolutely love the technology, but safety first. You don't want someone diagnosing themselves with ChatGPT and doing something with a product that you've created that then puts you in a liability situation. You really have to be careful.
Yes. Okay, Caroline. Now we have another question from Pedro Pascual. Maybe let's see if you can see on screen.
Can't see it so far. Okay.
There it is.
How do you catch our eye? You know what? It's hard. I'll be really, it's hard. You can be, as an example, we have some top students that don't make it through. And the reason is unknown to me, right? I think even in HR, the tools that scan the information and then get it to the right person is not as good as it should be. And so we miss people. So things that can help, these are just my personal things that I think you should do. When you look at the job description, make sure you have all the keywords in there for the scanning software. I think that's important. I think having a diverse mindset is important. It's not just all about tech. It's like, what are you interested in? I love to relate it to, I have had people work for me. They love gardening. I know that person's going to take care of stuff, right? I've also had engineers that tell me, oh, I have a lab in my basement. I'm always putting something together and I'm always trying to, those people, I'm like, oh, they love what they do. They're in it, right? I think as a student, it's good grades always help. Progression, taking challenges, putting yourself out there for internships are important. And really believe, like I keep saying this, believe in yourself. When you walk into an interview and when you're talking, I really hate, I tell my people this all the time, like, don't use those words. Breathe in if you're thinking, and then say what you mean. That'll make you stand out. Don't waffle and use filler sounds. And I know that's different, especially when it's English as a second language. But don't be worried to say, I need a second. Think about it and present your idea, because we can't speak two languages, so we think you're brilliant already. So put that in the back of your mind. You're already ahead. You just don't know it sometimes. And really, tell me, what is it you want? I love when these people come into interviews and they're so nervous. I am so a person. I'm just a person. And what's the worst thing that happens? You don't get the job. Put your best foot forward.
Thank you. Many students are asking about these opportunities. What do you consider when you are hiring someone? The soft skills. I think you talked about this during your presentation. You were very clear on it. on it. And so are you pass for other questions? Just to explain to the students, I think you talked already about these soft skills and all. How do you what characteristics or skills do you consider when hiring someone? So Maria de Fatima, the professor you met before,
Yes.
has a question about the presence of women in this kind of industry. So she asks, currently in Brazil, you can see the number of women working in the IT area is not representative. How is the participation of women in IT area at J&J?
There's never enough. It makes you never have to wait in line in the bathroom. But we have brilliant women at J&J, and in science, we have a very good representation in a lot of the business segments. We're still under in the IT side. We're not where we need to be. And J&J's got a very big focus on it. And I'm actually looking to, and this is a good example. This summer, I have like 2 interns and an analyst, and I have a person from the business that I'm bringing in, and I want them to focus on what makes women leave IT from a J&J perspective. And why is that important? We seem to be able to find really strong female talent, and our top female talent in that have stayed within the industry is very strong. But sometimes we lose people in the middle, and I have a direct belief of why that is. And yet, how do we as an organization shift and change through data analytics? Because that's where I want to shift it to. I want to show the data and take on the idea of how do we find ways to make it easier for women to stay in technology. And it starts from, in my experience, it started from having a very strong father figure in my life that believed that there's nothing I couldn't do. And being raised in an environment where he's like, well, we sent someone to the moon with 8K, so you guys are just sloppy coding. It's like this big joke in our family of, do you want to work in computers? They asked my father, do you want to work in computers? And he was like, yes. He had no idea what a computer was. He said, yes. He didn't know that they couldn't do some of the things that they were doing because nobody had ever done it before. And he raised me with that mindset. And I think that too often it starts from the home. If you don't have a foundation of people saying, yes, you can, and you don't keep building on that, and we start too late with our girls. We don't start early enough when you see people going and asking these psychology questions and in the world, and they say, what does it mean to run like a woman, right? Or hit or throw a ball like a woman? The young girls, they're like aggressive. They're out there doing it. And all of a sudden it shifts. It shouldn't shift. Females and women today, they're constantly, they're constantly handling things on so many different layers. They're thinking through problems and solving issues. They're raising our future generations, and they have to believe in themselves. And I think that we are underserving the complexity of women today in their growth. And we need to be more mindful of how do we provide the support necessary for them to be successful while they're transitioning from getting out of university to then being a successful executive. So it's not good enough, but we're working on it every single day. We do women's STEM. You'll actually go to our university. I gave the YouTube that your instructors can share with you. We have an entire women's STEM program that we're looking to seek out and really engage on different levels and pull people forward.
Yeah, it's a good point of view, and you gave good advices for all the students, the girls and women that are here participating in this event, and very good advices. Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Another question now from Gustavo Paiva. Let's see if you can see on screen, but it says, in a big corporation like J&J, how bureaucracy affects the speed and autonomy of individuals?
It's always there. There's always a hierarchy. There's someone above you, and there are people below you everywhere. So how do you deal with it? Speak your truth. And if you got the data, you can pretty much bury anybody. But be careful. Data can be manipulated. So analytics through honesty and integrity are a really key factor. If you can solve a problem, you can get through some bureaucracy. There was a time where I think I had 26 versions of a PowerPoint because of all of the places I had to go to get an approval for this, that, and the other thing. And when it comes down to it is get your message across. And that's why I'm so key on the communication piece. If you want to get through the bureaucracy, find your supporters, find the people with you, build your network of people that say they can help you, get people engaged before you start trying to just push something through. You have to have a collective around you, but there's always policies and processes. And I'll be honest, we don't have GIFs or GIFs in Teams because there's no way to understand what do they mean, and people can manipulate what they mean. And so we don't allow them in J&J. Oh, we fought hard for that. We didn't have external access for third parties. So if I wanted to talk to you, it was very difficult to get you access into this system and that system. I fought for 2 years with legal on it. Did I win? Yes. Did it take years off of my life? Yes. Was it worth it? Yeah, you have to ask yourself, it was worth it. It's right for J&J. It was the right thing to do. It was, how do I push a vendor to do something that gave me more control or helped me with the security so that I could meet the requirements? So bureaucracy is good and bad. So you have to figure out how to work through it, not around it like water, but through it to do the right thing. And you'll become a representation of that. You'll get people will know that you have the right mindset, authentic, trustworthy. You're doing the work, do the work. And, we talk about speed, right? You can be an autonomous person in JJ, an individual contributor, and you can get things done. But at some point, you're going to hit that block that's going to be, is it safe? Do you need money? You need help. You need to have people on your side. You need to build that. And they'll give you autonomy once they trust you. Prove yourself and you'll get it. And we're talking about agile mindset, doing things in sprints, right? So if you do a 2-week sprint, you're proving what that does and what's your minimum viable product, right? You want to build the world, but you have to start. You can't have a house that's fully decorated with no floors, right? We have to build the foundations first. And so you have to show people that you have that mindset. And speed is important, but errors can be deadly. So balance always comes down to balance.
Thank you, Caroline. I have another question from Gabrielle Schmidt. Can you show it on the screen, please? So about young applicants, they are very interested, as I told you.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm not in HR, and I'll be honest. I think it's difficult. It's that's where I said when you come out of university, you need to have done something, worked for the university, and doing something in a lab that shows experience. That's experience, right? Do an internship. Internships can be summer. They can be co-ops that last semesters. Even if you work or do something for somebody else, build your own business type mentality where, hey, I might volunteer someplace to do work to get the experience while I'm in school. Can I do that? Some people can, some people can't. I get that. Don't stop yourself from applying. Too often people are like, oh, but I don't have 2 years experience. I can't. Guess what? If you can't find anybody with 2 years experience, we're dipping into you. Don't stop yourself from applying and keep applying. And, some tips and tricks. Go to LinkedIn. If you can find the recruiter on LinkedIn, send them a note. See if you're connected. Start your network now. When people call me and they ask me, can you give me a recommendation? I'll go into LinkedIn. I mean, that's one of the first things that we did, right? We let's get on LinkedIn and connect. We got on LinkedIn and someone calls me and then I go, oh, they know Professor Weber there. Oh, so I can call her and say, tell me about this student, tell me about this person. If people can do that, or if you can find someone that's linked through an association, you'll find more people out there that want to help. And they really do. They've been there. They've been where you are. So don't limit yourself. Apply. Because we are.
Yeah. In addition, I, as a teacher, I would say study, do your tasks, do more than teachers and university asks for you, because many times and very often recruiters look for us also and they demand, hey, they ask us, do you have a good student? Do you have somebody that you would recommend and that you would even hire? So show this personality, your dedication also in classes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We come from some overachievers in our family. My sister's a doctor. And when she was in her undergrad, she went to a lab and she literally cleaned cages. Let's not talk about what was in the cages, but it did not smell good. But she was in the lab, and the professors and the PhD students that were in there doing research learned who she was. Then they got talking, then they conversed, then they talked about this, that they saw she was interested. They said, hey, would you like to try this? Before you know it, she's performing surgery, and she wrote her undergrad dissertation for her graduated summa cum laude on the neurotransmitters within the brain associated with addiction. All because she took the time to go out and do the work. Yeah.
Yes, get involved. Get involved in the environment. Yes. And that's a good advice. Good advice. Well, let's see. We have some questions. Are you tired, Caroline? You see?
Keep going. I'm good.
So we have here a question from Ramon. In your opinion, the company loses with home office workers? How do you see this? How do you see this question? Because
What do you mean we're losing with
it's
home office workers?
controversial.
What do you mean we're losing with home workers? Okay. It's controversial.
Yes.
It's controversial everywhere. Okay. I work remote. I've been remote for 6 years. I am not your average person that works remote. My job is to connect people from anywhere, anyone, on any device, over any medium. That's what I do. I make sure people are connected. If I can't do it, we're in trouble. Okay? So different people, different mindsets, different places in their career, different associations and networks make a difference. So J&J has a very strong belief that we are stronger together. We collaborate together. We work very well together. We iterate because we're seeing each other and we make those community connections, and we're a very strong community. We're a global company. And understand, as a global company, somebody is always remote. They're not in New Jersey. They're in Brazil. They're in Sao Paulo. I've got people in Singapore. Guess what? It's about time for them to start getting up and working right now, so they can start calling me right now. You never know. While we're on this call, I can get a ping from Singapore. We have people in Japan. We have people in New Zealand. We have people I have people in over 8 countries that work for me. So if I worry about where somebody is, I'm worrying about things that I can't control. I can't bring Belgium to me every day. Now, are they in an office in Belgium? Yes, but they're still remote to me. So change your mindset a little bit about it. Do you have problems? Yes. Everybody has. It's the people thing again. You're going to have people that are trying to do 2 jobs at once and they're going to fail. You have people that can't and don't want to sit at home. They're not successful at it. That's understanding your people. I have a gentleman that he likes his setup at the office with his, 3 monitors. He's got like his own command and control going on. He likes coming into the office, getting up in the morning, taking a shower, getting into the office and being around people. My boss loves being around people. He likes the interaction of walking by people and integrating into their day-to-day. But there are people that are on conference calls 8 hours a day with people in different parts of the world that it really probably doesn't make that big of a difference to them, other than the fact that they're not commuting and they're losing on all that time. So I have people that say, Carolyn, when you're in the office, I lose 4 hours in a day. 4 hours. I get up earlier to get ready. 1 hour. I drive to the office. That's an hour. Now you're in the office. We're going to go to lunch. Normally, I sit at my computer and I'll eat something. Now, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying that some people do that. And then I have to drive home. 4 hours. Now, I will tell you, they're going to get up with their kids. They're going to get on their computer and they're going to start working. I get the benefit of that for some people. I also get the benefit of, if someone wants to go pick up their kid from school because they're sick, they're not driving an hour from the office to pick up their kid to go home to then try to set back up. There are reasons that we need our people to be cared for. And sometimes we care for them by saying, hey, let's have some flexibility. So that's what J&J does. We provide flexibility. We also provide environments that are good and safe and community involved. So the best of both worlds. So I don't think I lose things. It's individualistic. So who's good at it, who's not?
And especially for us here in Brazil, and here we live in the south of Brazil, so you don't have big companies, big tech companies, and the remote work allow us to work for any company in the world and to to contribute to many business, and it's a big opportunity for us and for our students. And I think it, after the pandemics, it happened in the world, and we have these consequences. But it's just a matter of adjustment, I think, for some people that are used to go to it and meet some other people.
I think that, you know, there's good and bad about everything. It's just, how are you going to find what works for you and your team, and you know, which way do I prefer? I prefer the way that makes the employee happiest, so that they perform the best and they deliver the most. So it's really around that.
And some companies also have this possibility of hybrid. I don't know how you call, but you can go just 2 days for the company and then work 3 remotely, for instance.
We
And
call it
this
flex. Yeah, we do flex,
flex.
where people go to the office 2-3 days a week, and
Okay, yeah.
they're remote the rest of the time, and you know, schedule someone to fix your carpet when you're home, not when you're in the office. And you know, it's the same thing as, I want to bridge everybody together, but it's still, my boss was actually in Brazil last week for the week, and there's nothing that's going to ever change that connection of being face to face with people, and you build relationships. That doesn't mean that you can't do it in trips. And you know, we have great connection. We had one of our team members just flew to from Belgium to New Jersey for 2 weeks, and you know, the question is like, oh, does he need to go? The expense, the this, the that. And I was like, yeah, we hired him during the pandemic. He's never met anybody. And so it was amazing. He was so connected. He had meetings with people that even we don't even meet with on a daily basis when we're in the office all the time. So he had people come in, he had vendors, he was connecting this and that. He made the most of that time. And it really shows the dedication of the individuals to building that kind of network. So
Yeah, it's the modern life.
that's right.
And talking about technology, you mentioned before Python, but what else can you tell us in terms of platforms or lower level systems and databases? Students are
Mhm.
curious about this.
Right. So, well, I've worked for multiple companies, so I speak from different areas. Infrastructure as code was all about, how are we building the infrastructure on a gold standard image, and whether or not we had integrations for load balancing, and the applications and automations built through Python. Right. So we were doing things with Python, Chef, Puppet, you know, things like that. When you start talking about what we do in J&J, like I said, we do a lot of PowerShell, and we do that because we can build scripts that will automate license assignment and user enablement. And so when we do like a new hire process, so that their PC is getting built on time, and that the license is there, and that their mailbox gets built, and you know, like all of those things take automation. So it really depends on what area you're going into. Obviously, if you're in networking, we're going to talk about whether or not you're doing, you know, a Cisco standard, or you're doing a global standard. You can talk about whether or not you are building a tenant-based software, or you're doing software, right? If you build software, and whether or not it's going to be a physical on the LAN, or if it's going to be a WAN connected software, really depends on throughput. So it's really important to understand where you're looking to develop, and we use all sorts of things depending on the tools or the software that we're trying to develop. Salesforce is a big thing for us. Obviously, we have Salesforce, SAP. You know, there's so many different pieces out there that can be very individualistic. And like I said, J&J, you can get into this place. I worked for J&J, and I was in the network team. I wanted to learn more. I left to learn more, to come back, to do more. So I think that it's really, Java, .NET. I mean, we pretty much have to use anything at our disposal.
Wow, fantastic. So, Caroline, I think we have one final question, okay? One last question. Let me see here. In terms of data-driven companies, how do you perceive J&J? Do you think it can be called like this?
J&J is, everything that we do is based on data nowadays. It's grid, it's any kind of data analysis. Our CIO, if you come to him without data, you're not going to get anything. He wants to know what's driving us, what are the reasons why we're doing what we do, what's impacting the users. You have to understand so much in technology, because you're not just the tech, you're the business case, you're the puts and takes of the requirements, you're the financials behind it. How do you make it a service where people want to adopt it and then they want to pay so that you can build it and make it bigger and better? And all of that is data. How much does something cost? How much does a resource cost? What's an analyst cost to come and do some pivots for you? You have to do reporting. You have to understand the operational effectiveness. How many trouble tickets do you get into a help desk? That equates to a dollar value, right? And every time you can get rid of a systemic issue, it's not a big issue. It just happens every single day. And it's 200,000 people, and someone puts in a ticket, and before you know it, 3,000 tickets equals a dollar value. If you get rid of that, you're creating savings. So it's all driven from how you can manifest cost avoidance, how you can manifest a reduction in resource time on a repeatable process. And then that person can then solve cancer, right? I don't want them working on a spreadsheet if I can give them a format that they can put their data in and it pivots it and it gives them the outcome. Like, what are we doing to make them more effective in what they have to do? And it all comes down to data. So when you look at our med tech group, digital surgery, we need to know all of the things that are happening to the patient, all of the tools that they're using to connect our systems. I was talking to someone and said, like, how many sutures are required for what level of surgeries that you have, and there's different kinds of sutures. We have to track that because we have to make sure it's there in the hospital for them to use when they have things scheduled. It all comes down to the data.
So, Caroline, I want to thank you very much. Since we were born here in Brazil, since a baby is born in Brazil, he starts using J&J products. It's like part of our life.
Yes, Johnson's baby, right? So thank you so much. I appreciate the invite. I hope that it was helpful. I know that I'm very user-centric, even in the technology side, because they're the people that use our services and they're the people that we're building for. So just always keep them in mind, and thank you. I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk to your students.
It was amazing. We have many comments on YouTube. Many congratulations to you and many positive comments, and people are surprised. Some people were a little bit concerned about English, but it's normal. They are learning, they are young. They have to be positive in this sense. That is some ability that they have to develop. And please be sure that your presence was a true privilege for us. And we here from the faculty members, we are confident that you will inspire our students to reach new heights in the field of information technology. And we are really grateful for this moment, Caroline. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon, see someday, and meet you again in the United
Yes.
States.
Come back to New Jersey.
I will. First time I walked in front of J&J, I was very surprised by this big company, and now we admire even more all this structure, and especially because of you. Thank you very much, Caroline.
I appreciate it. You're welcome. I've enjoyed it, and best of luck to all of you.
So, agradeço a presença de todos e boa noite.